Well, let's look at what happened about 2 weeks ago in the first round of the election. And let's look ahead to 2 days' time when the governorship election will be holding in 28 states, and 36 states of the Federation will be having the House of Assembly elections. But one organization in Nigeria that has had its eyes on the process is the Nigerian Bar Association. And they said that they will monitor. They will be a friend to INEC when needs be, and they will be looking across the shoulder of the electoral umpire for them to do the right thing. I'm being joined by the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Yakubu Mekia, who is live with us here in Abuja today. Thank you so much, and it's good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening,
You were here before the presidential election, and if you look at that conduct of that election, there is so much expectations. But if you assess what INEC did, how would you assess INEC in that election?
Okay, so thank you very much, Shaun, for the question. It's important for me to, in answering this question, state briefly what the Nigerian Bar Association has done and is also doing towards the next election. The Nigerian Bar Association has 128 branches across the country. And in addition to that, we have over 1,000 of our members that have been duly accredited by INEC to observe the election. And in addition to that, and that is why I talked about the 128 branches, we have all the chairmen and the secretaries of the branches. They are under instruction, together with all the members of their branches that either went to cast their votes on the day of the last election, or would be going to cast their votes also in the forthcoming election. In the states where these elections would happen, of course, it's virtually all the states, except that the governorship election, it's with respect to
all the states except FCT will be having elections.
Exactly. So we have those number of people observing the election. So it is based, and we have a situation room at the NBA house here in Abuja on 101 Muhammadu Buhari Way. That is where we have our men receiving reports from across the country. And so whatever we've done and whatever we are still going to do would be on the basis of the reports that we receive from the field of people that have gone there, the first-hand experience of what they witness in the polling units in the course of either observing the elections or casting their votes as members of the legal profession. So we saw that in the last election, there was delay in the deployment of materials and personnel to their respective polling units. Some local governments did not even see any of the polling units, any of the polling materials arrive until the following day, the 26th. And that caused a lot of agitation. That also created a lot of suspicion in the minds of the people, because if you remember, at the run-up to this particular election, there were all sorts of suspicion whether we are going to have the election or not, and so that we could have instances of that nature. The delay in the supply of materials actually heightened the suspicion about whether or not we're going to have that election at all. So, and then we saw also some of the things. I came here and I did talk about the fact that the BVAS machine, which is part of the innovations of the 2022 Electoral Act, is actually a game changer. And so there was a lot of expectation that was hinged around the use of the BVAS.
But did it change the game at all?
It did to an extent. It did to an extent, because so you see that everything revolves around the use of the BVAS, in the sense that some of the electoral infractions that we saw, they only happened because people didn't understand the change that had come on board with respect to the use of BVAS. So every BVAS is loaded with the registered voters in that particular unit, and it is only those that are accredited in that polling unit using the BVAS machine alone that are allowed to vote. So when you see the results eventually that would come from the polling units, the material by which to test the veracity or the authenticity of the result that you have seen is the BVAS machine, or the report from BVAS. So the discontent that we had across the country is with respect to the failure of INEC to instantaneously upload the results to their own data bank, which was something that was promised by INEC, and that caused a lot of agitations, and people were displeased about it, and to some extent also affected the confidence of the public.
Let's clarify. Let's get some clarity and some form of legal education on this matter. This is our argument on what the compliance level of INEC in that respect, the IREF portal, and I mean, we were speaking with one of the national commissioners of INEC saying, look, the obligation of INEC is to get these results written on the from EC8A, that the other layer of transmitting it is just another layer which does not take away the sanity, the authenticity, and the veracity of the process itself. But how concrete in law, or how backed is the IREV or the transmission of that result under the present legal regime?
Well, Sharon, I would ask that you excuse me from making or profiling any legal opinion on that issue, because there are already matters pending in court in this respect, and I wouldn't want to speak to any of the issues that are sub judice right now, But what I can say is that the issue of authenticity or the validity of a process and all of the things that you need to do in law must also be taken in the context of what you need to do in order to carry the public along.
So what I was, apologies, sir. So what I was trying to get out of you is that the issue of IREF is not only in the realm of promise, it's also in the realm, is under obligation and the duties as prescribed by law. Is it?
Well, that is also asking me to render an opinion.
So that, the question is...
Because if you say it is this way that you have put it, then the next question is what will be the consequence? And then I would have delved into the issues.
The meat of the matter, yes, which I wouldn't...
So what I was trying to say is that whatever INEC has to do in complying with the law itself, it is important that you not only comply with the law, but give the public the confidence that you actually did so, to earn the confidence of the public to believe that you have done so, or that you have done everything possible to make sure that you have complied with the law. That is the only time that the public would accept the outcome of the results of the process that you have deployed in the conduct of the election. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Whatever you do, absent the confidence of the public in the process, then the result would not be accepted. It may have satisfied the requirement of the law, but if there is anything that would affect or create suspicion in the mind of the public such that it would think that that process was tampered with, even though that wasn't what happened, it would generally affect the view of the election.
So if you weigh it right now, because even you, I could feel, I mean, if there's a way to gauge body language, your enthusiasm and your expectations before the presidential election was very high. But I'm not sure it's at the same level compared to the last time as of now. So has INEC in any way lost that kind of, the expectation and the kind of trust, the public trust that they had before the presidential election?
I will talk about my expectation. I still believe that INEC can do more or better than what it did in the last election held on the 25th. And I can say so because I was also an observer. I went around the Federal Capital Territory, and before then, the Thursday before the election on the 25th of February 2023, we did not see the sort of deployment of electoral materials like we have seen this time around, preceding the 18th of March election for the governorship and the state houses of assemblies that where elections will be held in this on Saturday the 18th. We haven't seen that. So what that tells me is that whatever lapses that we saw in the elections held on the 25th of February 2023, INEC is deliberately doing what it needs to do to deal with those issues. That is why, in the prelude to this conversation, we saw how that electoral materials are being deployed in several places across the country, which we didn't see before the elections of the 25th of February 2023. So I believe that INEC has learned some lessons from the last elections, and that they are taking steps to correct all of those things going into the election of the 18th of March, 2023.
So, if you look at it, I was looking at the statement that you sent a few days ago. Are there any positives that we can take out of the last election? We're looking ahead of Saturday now. Any positives from the last cycle of election?
Yes, thank you, Shuyen. But before I go into that, I'd like to thank you for that compliment that you gave to me, making reference to the partnership between Kebbi State and Lagos State in the production of lake rice. I am from Kebbi, so when you said that, I felt so elated. And
I'm of the view that every state in the country should have something that is identified and known for. In such a way, I mean, the spirit and the letter of our Constitution also can be achieved that every state of the Federation has some level of economic independence. And just what happened in the Second Republic.
Absolutely. And thank you for identifying Kebbi and Lagos as the states that
you're advertising your state.
So thank you for mentioning it. I didn't know you would, but having done that, I mean, it's only just right for me to latch onto it.
All right.
Now talking about positives from the last election, quite a lot of them. And irrespective of the lapses that we've seen in the last election, there are so much to take from the last election. For the first time in my own assessment, that you cannot have any arrogance of any political party going in for the determination of who becomes what in the National Assembly, for instance. You have to align with other political parties. Labour Party, the People Democratic Party, the APC. There are about 8 political parties that have won elections into the parliament, into the National Assembly. So, and you see a sitting governor losing election. My own brother, who is from my state, my own governor also lost his election. Many of those governors lost their elections. The president-elect lost Lagos. That was almost unthinkable. The vice presidential candidate for the PDP lost his state to Labour Party as a sitting governor. The president, who is of the ruling party, also lost his own state to PDP. I mean, a lot of these things that we never thought would happen, all happened. But irrespective of that, you know, we forgot about all of these things and became a bit emotional about what has gone on. I think we shouldn't just allow some of these emotions to becloud some of the positives that we have gotten in this election. And I am one person who believes that we make progress steadily. It may be slow, but once we make any progress, no matter how little, we should be able to acknowledge it, appreciate it, and build on it. And I think that we have made a lot of progress from the election held on the 25th of February 2023. And that should actually energize Nigerians to come out and also vote in the elections coming up on Saturday. Because this is a big task that only we Nigerians individually and collectively can perform.
And I'm going to also avert your mind to not only the presidential election, but the National Assembly election.
Yes.
And on the lane that, on which you were, is the dramatic twist in our election, the first time in our electoral process, on our political history, that you have 8 political parties having a seat in the National Assembly election.
Exactly.
Did you ever see that coming?
Never, never. That is quite revolutionary. I mean, there has not been, in my own assessment, such a revolutionary election like the one we held on the 25th of February, the presidential and National Assembly elections. It has never happened in this country. And so we must give kudos to all of them that participated in the process. We must give kudos to Nigerians that came out to express their franchise. I mean, if anybody were to be emotional about the result, I have someone who is so dear to me that lost the election, I should have condemned the election on the basis of that alone. But no, I cannot do that. I cannot close my eyes to the positives that we got in the election on the basis of my emotion. Because it is not about me, it's not about a few people, it's about all of us in this country. And we are looking, I mean, the interest of this country is bigger than the interest of either a political party or any particular individual, or even a group of political parties. Each and every one of those who came out to contest for the election, I believe they came out to contest for the election because of their desire to transform this country for the good of the people. And if that is the motivation, then we should sit down, sit back, introspect, and see what is it that they've been able to do towards that, achieving that particular objective. Looking at the fact that all that Nigerians are looking for is justice at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who wins the election, but whoever wins the election, what is he going to hand over to Nigerians? That is what Nigerians are looking for. And that is why I would say to Nigerians, still have confidence in this one institution that the Constitution has given to us to conduct this very important process in our country. Come out, in spite of the lapses. I know that many are disenchanted about what has happened, but we should not throw out completely, like they talk about the water and the baby, or how they put it, but we should recognize what we have achieved in the last election, and it should motivate us to come out and also determine those who become governors in our states and those who also would become members of the state houses of assembly in our state, because those are the people who will be making laws for us.
Is there any lesson for the political class, considering the revolution that you think happened in that past election?
Yes. Well, for the political class, it is clear that the time of those of impunity is long gone. The time has come for the political class to begin to recognize the interest of the people, because there is a lot of awareness with the people. Long gone are the days when you take advantage of the illiteracy of the Nigerian public. Nigerian public, even if they are not educated, they are well informed about their rights, and they go about choosing who they desire to lead them on the basis of their own independent assessment of those people. So the time has come for the political class to be people-minded in what they do, because that is the only thing that is going to drive us to the place where we all desire to be as a nation. And that is why for us as a Nigerian, as the Bar Association, all that we are called to do, number one, we are not partisan, is to provide guidance. And I'm happy to say that even in the judgment of the Supreme Court that we saw with respect to the Naira redesign, that suit that was filed in the Supreme Court reckoned with the letter that the Nigerian Bar Association wrote to the governor of Central Bank. It was part of the documents that were used to file that action. And so the Nigerian Bar Association is happy to come back on track to begin to provide direction to the people and support the fight of the cause to serve the people of this country. And we've done that in that case. We are prepared to do this in the case of the conduct of this election. And we are saying, please have confidence in the courts. It is the only civil means by which any grievance can be settled and redress can be taken. The courts have done it. I mean, look at the people-friendly decision that came from the Supreme Court in that matter. And people applauded it.
The Supreme Court established its position as a court of
policy.
policy.
It's a policy court. It is driven by the interest, socio-economic benefits for the people, and that is the rationale behind the decision of the Supreme Court in that case.
I'm going to take you quickly to one aspect of our election that really bothers a lot of people, and is the role money plays, the issue of money politics. Was money embarrassed in this election, considering the lesson that you said politicians and the political class need to have learned from this election?
Yes. In any case, with what we saw the difficulty, and I'm not trying to glamorize the difficulty or difficulties and the hardship that Nigerians went through as a result of that Naira redesign policy. Already a decision has been taken on that, but you could see that there was no money. There was no money. So yes, you can say that even those who had put their hope on money now have realized that you can actually do without money. So there are other things you should begin to look at. How do you treat the people? What respect do you have for the people? How have you related with them? What have you then done on your own to better their lot before you now step out to say you want to seek for any elective office? These are the considerations that Nigerians are beginning to put in place, that are beginning to deploy in deciding who leads them. So please jettison money. That is corruption. And what Nigerians have done this time around, in spite of the difficulties that was brought to bear on them as a result of that policy, there was no money, they couldn't move around, and all of that, they couldn't even feed the family, and all of those things that we experienced as a result of that. It is very clear that you cannot use money anymore to determine your ascension into any political office in this country.
The term hire and fire as the duty of a voter seems to come to bear now. That if you do well, they hire you. If you don't do well, they fire you.
They fire you without blinking. Without blinking.
So, I mean, talk to us about, and I'm taking you gradually to start giving us what we should be looking at ahead of the governorship election. But there is an influence in the way Peter Obi, for example, brought into the process. That those who never thought that they were going to ever run for political office, whose name were enlisted, the case of one person who was said to say he was sleeping when they told him that he had won an election.
Yes, yes.
I mean, what do you make of that kind of scenario? How an individual could be a force in such a way that it caused a lot of stir in the political atmosphere. What kind of lesson is this for those who think that they must belong in the, they must be in the process before they can be part of it? What kind of encouragement for those who want to go into politics?
Yeah. So that is why I said in taking the positives from the elections of the 25th, we also have to commend the players, the gladiators on that field. And making reference to Peter Obi, for instance, he came with a momentum in this election that we have never seen before. Now, you go into a contest like this to win. You want to breast the tape of victory first so that you'll be declared the president. But that has not happened. And I'm without prejudice to the right of those who contested to go and challenge the result as it is in court to determine whether or not they are the ones who should have been declared. I would like to say that someone like Peter Obi, and of course even Atiku Abubakar, of course Kwankwaso, all of those that participated in the process must be commended for the kind of force that they brought in the political space that brought about this revolution. There are people who never printed posters.
And they won the election.
And they won the election.
Some of them will be in the National Assembly.
They rode on the back of this momentum, this drive, this revolution.
That they did on Kwankwaso too. On a lot of yeah.
Exactly.
NNPP had given a lot of people platforms.
Many did that. Many did that. And it's all about the confidence that people have reposed around the individuals, independent of other influences, which are really not even encouraging, which are things that they shouldn't do, like the use of money and all. But so people should never give up. People should never give up. Principles should be maintained, and respect for people should always be demonstrated. We have seen that these are values that people look out for, and these are values that leaders must have in order to be able to win the hearts of the people, to propel them into the position of leadership.
Now, Mr. President, let me ask you, what is your biggest fear ahead of Saturday? Do you think people will be coming out compared to what we saw in presidential election?
Well, I don't want to say fear, but I just want to admonish people to come out. I want people I want to beg Nigerians to come out to do this business of electing our leaders, irrespective of what has happened. It's possible that someone who had a particular expectation in the last election that did not happen. We may, as a result of that, see voter apathy in that respect. But I don't want us to give up. And that's why I keep making reference to the positives from that last election. We haven't lost everything. We haven't lost everything. Even the expectations that you had. If that did not happen, go back and take stock of the things that we are talking about now as the successes arising from the election of the 25th of February. You have every reason to go into this election. Don't forget that, Sheung, last year, we woke up one day and all foreign nationals were running out of this country. They moved out with their pets. Heightened panic and concerns about security. Many Nigerians have already moved their families out of this country for the fear that there would not be a country for us to even hold an election. Here we are, not even thinking about an election, but that we held the presidential election and the National Assembly election. It is something to be grateful to God for. It is something that is worth celebrating in spite of the lapses. And I'm saying this without prejudice to the rights of the people, you know, to ventilate their grievances.
We are due for a break, but if there is one quick one, if there is one big lesson that you need to tell INEC tonight, what would that be? One thing that you think they need to watch out for ahead of governorship election of Saturday?
INEC must deploy materials on time. And INEC must know that no matter how beautiful, no matter the level of compliance with the provisions of the law, it is important that the confidence that had been generated in INEC before the election be sustained, so that people would have confidence in the process, people would accept the process and the outcome of the process of the election, and they will be happy that what they have gone out there to demonstrate actually is a reflection of what has been seen in the outcome. So I would urge INEC to make sure that they go out there on time. People shouldn't be given any reason. Whatever INEC needs to do to sustain the confidence of the public in the process, INEC should do it. And it is also important that for those that have been found wanting in the discharge of their responsibilities by INEC, it should be clear that INEC is beginning to take steps to deal with them administratively, and where there are infractions of law in terms of commission of crime, that also their cases are reported to the police for them to be prepared for prosecution.
All right. Do you have any final thought? Just in 10 seconds, if you have.
Yes. My final thoughts is to ask Nigerians to express confidence in this process and demonstrate that confidence in the process in coming out to vote. And for anyone that has any grievance, please repose confidence in the ability of the court to resolve the disputes.
All right.
And I wish all of us a wonderful outing on Saturday. The Nigerian Bar Association will be on standby across the country to observe this election, and we'll be coming back with our own assessment of the election.
President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Yakub Meka, thank you so much. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you indeed. It's a pleasure having you, sir.